Yesterday's snapshot was a very small one, but there are some important things to know. The game now uses Java 21, and this is the Microsoft build of OpenJDK. You'll also be required to use a 64-bit operating system. At this point, if you're still using 32-bit, you're probably barely running the game. So welcome to this video for Snapshot 24W14A, but with so little to talk about, this is going to be like a...
That's kind of sad, honestly.
A lot of people who do not particularly care for.
And again, Minecraft has never been a very friendly game. Very poor
He's a knucklehead
PCs.
Oh my god. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard someone call Linguini a knucklehead McSpazatron, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? I get why not everyone thinks Linguini is anything special, but personally, I think he's hilarious. I love watching this bumbling idiot finesse his way through a gourmet kitchen with the help of a rat. I think there's actually more going on inside him than a lot of people give him credit for. He has a lot of expectations to live up to, both through Remy's cooking abilities and his illustrious lineage. But we'll get to those things later. Here we finally get to see our main duo get to know each other for the first time. Oh, Pixar sure loves those main duos. Woody and Buzz, Mike and Sully, Jack Black and Smithtail. It's such a common format employed by the studio. But there's a consistent element throughout all these movies that isn't present in Ratatouille. In these movies, both characters talk and play off of each other. It's a fun format, but Ratatouille decides to make a somewhat risky change to the concept. What if one of them doesn't talk? Obviously, half-silent duos have existed plenty of times before this movie, but Pixar never gave it a try at this point. It would be so easy to just have Remy talk to Linguini and remove the communication barrier entirely. But in my opinion, this would have weakened the movie considerably, since it would have destroyed the idea that Remy's from a different world than the one he wants to join. I almost feel bad picking on this movie, because it clearly was never made with it to rise to the same levels as Ratatouille. It clearly didn't ask for this, but fuck it. B-Movie and Ratatouille are the same movie, and here's why. They both come out in 2007. They both about animals who are told they not talk to humans, but then they meet the humans. What is this? What is the conflict involving ethics of stealing, and finally, the humans come to realize that this tiny animal really is on their same level of intellect, and that they can coexist with each other in spite of the bigots disagree. Oh, the bee is slipping my line! So these are the same movie, I proved it. Now, B-Movie aspires to lower heights than Ratatouille, and that's not an insult, that's just a film fan. B-Movie wants lighthearted comedy.
I want to play with you, Amy.
Also, side note, I want to clear my name. I didn't know what it was before I made the short film. Depending on how you know. Was a dumb joke. I'm a theater kid. I've seen Chicago. Calm down. Anyway, B-Movie was never intended to be a cinematic masterpiece. But I think it ways and ideas intersect with Ratatouille. It really goes to show just how above and beyond Ratatouille went. Not just as an animated film, but as a film in general. Besides, I don't think it's that way. B-Movie and Ratatouille will present their protagonists with the notion that they should not talk to humans under any circumstances. This notion is
no
supported by the fact that
everybody stand
don't take time.
Let's light stuff right
But
there.
ultimately, both Gary and Remy are shown kindness by one human, one person who has an opportunity to expose them, but decides not to out of the goodness of their hearts. From here, the animal forms a relationship of some sort with the human, in spite of a disapproving world. But again, there is one key difference between these two stories. Barry Benson B can talk. Like it's nothing. So he can have witty banter with Vanessa and tell those pesky humans what's for. For all intents and purposes, Barry and all the other bees are just tiny people. Not that there's anything wrong with that. B-Movie is, in a word, bonkers. And that's exactly what it wants to be. A pure comedy that isn't really meant to be taken serious. That's kind of what the movie wants to accomplish, but also personifies the it's an easy way to showcase a relationship of equals between an animal and a human. Even if Ratatouille wants to take itself more seriously than B-Movie, it could have just made things simple and have Remy secretly talk to Linguini, have him whisper instructions and hope this clumsy dude can properly follow him. But it doesn't take the easy way out. It wants to take itself seriously. Both Ratatouille and B-Movie are equally silly premises when you get down to it. Ratatouille takes its silly premise and shows what kind of creativity and emotional significance can be achieved if you try hard enough. They treat the idea of a rat who wants to become a chef realistic, which is why he doesn't talk. They realize that that would be a step too far, and so they do something that is simultaneously more realistic and more outlandish and much, much more creative. Who would even think about making a movie where a rat controls a human like a puppet by pulling on his hair? It's absolutely absurd, and yet, even though it takes time to get used to, it starts to make sense as the story continues on. We, the audience, start to accept this absurd system of control because it just becomes second nature to the characters. And through it, we get to see these two characters directly help each other achieve their own desired success. Linguini becomes a star at the restaurant, and he starts to win over his new mentor, Colette. And Remy gets to live out his lifelong dream of cooking at Gusteau's. The way these two characters directly affect each other's destinies like this makes them one of the most memorable and well-written duos in Pixar history, even though only one of them is doing the talking. That really doesn't matter, because right from the start, Linguini and Remy have excellent chemistry. Whether through Linguini's paranoid shouting or Remy's subtle, humorous mannerisms, they connect extremely well and have some great exchanges. I really like how Remy initially runs away, content with having tricked this clown, before he regains his conscience and returns to help. I like how Linguini initially thinks Remy has stolen food and run off, only to find him innocently
Inactivity
cooking it
serves
up.
no
The
purpose
fact that they come into
whatsoever.
conflict with each other and don't respect each other at first makes their relationship
Illusion shattered!
feels like it's kind of
Teamwork is
impressive.
strength! You asked for it! Final warning!
We'll get to that.
Inazuma
This point,
shines eternal!
Fun watching them slowly improve their craft.
Shine down.
Air cover. This montage, we get to see them spectacularly detail and cooking and only get better and better, to the point where they can handle a knife, no problem, is a big part of the movie. Finding an air cover starts to feel their passion. That's what
Time
you're
for a light show!
So our boys finally recreate the suit.
Holy Mother Jesus.
Shit.
I see why Mia doing so much damage.
Standing to talk about Brad Bird and what really sets his Pixar movies apart from the rest of the pack. So, obviously, I think The Incredibles and Ratatouille are the two best Pixar movies, by a long shot. As I've said numerous times before, it's because in sharp contrast to most other Pixar films, they feel like they were written specifically for adults. Brad Bird writes films intended to be enjoyed by adults first and kids second, because he doesn't believe that animation is a genre. That would imply that everything from Samurai Jack to Rick and Morty to Caillou all falls under the same genre, and is accordingly very similar. Which, can I just say... What?
Well, it's a little bizarre to have in the same category Shaun the Sheep nominated alongside Anomalisa, the Charlie Kaufman existential drama. So that animated
Please
category.
appreciate my sincerity. Illusion shattered!
Teamwork is dreamwork!
I will not.
Justice will prevail! Fire hazard!
Went too far.
Appreciate my insincerity instead, bitch.
Animation isn't a genre.
Everybody
It is a
stand
storytelling
back! Let's wonder they never
Now, for the
missed!
longest time, I didn't understand what made
There
it
is
so
no
excellent.
escape! Torn to oblivion!
When you consider how totally distinct The Incredibles and Ratatouille are from other Pixar movies, it starts to make sense. And believe me, I'm not trying to disparage the Pixar movies. They're also great. Cars 2 Pixar movies are great and thematically rich, dull, intricate, fantastic stories, but Incredibles and Ratatouille just take their In Incredibles, we're dealing with a man going through a realistic midlife crisis, a woman being realistically concerned about her husband having an affair, a man committing genocide on a group of so-called super individuals he was shunned by, an attempted suicide, and a Schrodinger's cat-like discussion about the nature of a thumbtack that simultaneously does or does not exist. I think not! Incredibles 2 is not very good, But even that movie operates in the same fashion sometimes. There's a lot of intelligent conversations about giving up our freedom, desires, and ourselves on and
Illusion shattered.
other stuff like... See, this is what Brad Bird does. He gives adults a ton of ideas to think about. He writes all of them as if they are primarily intended for an adult audience. There's a difference between putting thought-provoking adult themes in your animated movie and putting in lame pop culture references to keep adults from falling asleep. There's a difference between putting mild sexual themes or alcohol in your movie because it fits the tone, and doing this.
We're 3 piston cops.
Ratatouille decided to start delivering
Let's find shelter quick.
starting with Colette literally pulling out the patriarch how hard it is to succeed in a culture said, this is the
There is
time
no
that
escape. Final warning.
especially considering
Teamwork is
it wouldn't
dreamwork.
be out of place to make it more
Inazuma
sexy,
shines
less
eternal.
respectful for much contributions to the kitchen, but I guess that would have made the
Fire hazard.
best. So the way they move on to the movie is fine. Skinner's enough of an asshole, as we can see by him exploiting Cousteau's image in order to sell Michael. I didn't know what any of this meant as a kid. I just thought it was funny when all the Cousteaus talked to Remy. This is such a bizarre plot thread to put in your kids' movie. Unless you weren't making a kids' movie at all. See what I mean when I say this movie was written for adults? Skinner is presented as a greedy, money-grubbing opportunist who completely lacks any artistic integrity, opting instead to exploit the image of his famous deceased friend. He's a big ol' sellout, except it's worse because he's not even selling out with his own image. He's using a dead man's image to further his frozen food business pursuits. He's honestly way more evil than I ever gave him credit for as a kid. The fact that Brad Bird snuck this under our 9-year-old noses is such a testament to how much better his movies are for adults than they are for kids. But Bradley isn't done with his adult themes yet. Suddenly, Cousteau apparently
try
had an
the chain
affair,
again.
and Linguini is his offspring? What? Plus, we get Colette telling us about all the apparent serial killers who work in his kitchen. Again, I had no idea what she was talking about when she said this one guy fooled around with the circus ringmaster's daughter, or how this other guy ran guns for the resistance. The only thing I understood here was... Honestly, this is where some of the missed opportunities in the script start to present themselves. I really wish these chef boys could have been fleshed out more, since their backstories are honestly really fun and entertaining. There's this one guy, LaRousse, who has so much personality despite never saying a word. When Linguini first captures Remy and asks if he should kill him now, we get LaRousse maliciously nodding in the background. But as Skinner tells him to take the rat outside, LaRousse's smile fades and he extinguishes the fire. What a letdown. But then later on, when Linguini becomes president of Cousteau's and stops frozen food production, LaRousse finally gets his chance to commit arson on all the Cousteau standees. Look how happy he is to set property on fire. What a lad. This is some nice attention to detail in this characterization, and it really makes me wish these guys had more characterization. I want to know more about them and see them functioning as a unit. Colette also somewhat disappoints me, as she's ultimately just a tool for Linguini's development. It's nice to see the two of them connect over time, similarly to how Linguini and Remy connected, though I guess not exactly the same way. Yeah, but ultimately, I feel like her character is pretty bare bones, and maybe they should have gone further with the overcoming the patriarchy angle. Though, something tells me this wouldn't have flown at Pixar at the time, so I guess we just gotta work with what we got. Colette at least manages to provide an interesting wedge between Linguini and Remy, and it's a good setup. It all starts when someone asks you,
I don't have Kazuha, and I can't dodge. So this is what we're doing.
Take yourself a Speed of light. Nowhere to hide.
Sabotage success by giving him a rancid-ass recipe.
Wings of darkness.
Like, this shit calls for seahorse radish, you gotta drop it in the equipment. Oh my god, it's just horrible. I really like that.
Sword from
Like, oh shit. And salvages. Remy improvises a brand new version, guiding the team all around the kitchen. Dynamic, funny, tension-filled cooking. But Colette, who always keeps the value of following the recipe, shuts Remy's ideas down and delivers a shitty-ass chump on the But before she can add the seahorse radish, Remy swoops in with the Krabby Patty secret ingredient. Oh my god! It's honestly often have life or death scenarios with a ton of tension and adrenaline, but this movie manages to pass those same
Damn it! I was doing so well too.
with Linguini caught in the middle. It's a tremendous accomplishment. So yeah, Remy's gambit pays off and he and Linguini enjoy a night of success. Remy gets to take a well-earned break, while Skinner gets Linguini drunk as hell. The perfect cap-off to the most explicitly adult portion of the film. Now's as good time as any to catch up with our friend. Returning to the B-movie conundrum, the trade-off of not having Remy talk to Linguini is the fact that he hasn't really talked that much for the past 30 minutes. So it's maybe a little jarring to pick up the storyline with his family again after we just experienced a long stretch of time where he's staying silent and interacts with Linguini. But despite being initially a bit weird for the film to shift gears like this, it quickly becomes apparent what a great plot thread this is. At this point, Remy is living it up and he ain't gonna stop. He's found a place where he really belongs, and by reintroducing his family here, it becomes clear that his sensibilities and desires never really coincided with theirs. What initially just seems like a cute, relatively pointless scene of Remy trying to get a meal to savor food, enjoy taste sensations, is actually a soft way of breaking into Remy that he'll always be different from his family, and that they'll never really understand him or his passion. The hard way comes during his conversation with his father, who is not named in the film, but the script says his name is Django. It's probably pronounced Django, but I'm calling him Django anyway, because it's fun to say. Django is absolutely dumbfounded with the idea that Remy isn't staying, which leads to an argument over what kind of rat Remy is. Here, Remy finally expresses his desire to thrive and create, rather than just take and survive. To him, surviving is not living. He wants to contribute art to the world, because that is what will give
I wanna use your name.
Maybe it's not how a rat should be behaving, but that doesn't matter to him. It's what he wants to do with his life. Honestly, I relate to Remy so hard here. Just the idea of creating something that'll impress or inspire people who don't know. The fact that you're leaving an impact on others' lives with your creations, it's just an exhilarating thought to me, and I doubt I'm the only one who thinks that. Art can and will outlast us, which is why it's so inspiring to think and add something to this world, even
Nowhere
if
to hide.
Remy is a family, but even so, seeing his soul fire to overcome adversity against all odds, reason, logic, one of the most powerful aspects of a film I've ever seen. But of course, he dealt with his father's perception of how a rat should be. So Django tries to discourage him from meddling with people by showing him traps and uses on rats. Typical kid fashion, Remy gets discouraged by this scary sight and begins to wonder if he'll ever again. Oh wait, that's having just in the kids movie. Remy actually stands firm. Change the future to make things better than rats and humans. And that's all. Change is the future. So after that, we got some fun shenanigans, Weenie being asleep, and him confessing that he likes Colette and all that stuff. This is a good time setting to see just how excellent this cast is. Really, that it's not just a pile of A-list it's just a really solid group of talented performers. I'm really glad they were attached on His voice is just an exquisite fit for a snarky, yet hopeful rat. Janine Garofalo and Ian Holm bring excellent levels of manic energy to Colette and Skinner, respectively, but damn, I just can't get enough of it. Lou Romano is an animator who happens to be an exceptionally talented voice actor as well, kind of like Walt Doran who plays Bumble Stinky Pants. Lou Romano doesn't just voice Linguini. No. He voiced the most iconic Pixar character of all. Bird. Romano brings such a great time. Probably my favorite performance in this. And the animation is obvious because it kind of implies bringing this puppet-like thing. This is actually one of the reasons Brad Bird wanted to take over the project in the first place. He was excited by the physical comedy possibilities. And I think this passion is definite. Okay, so the scene ends with Linguini and Colette kissing. And as a kid, I didn't realize she had pepper spray. I thought that was rat poison, and that she somehow knew that there's a rat controlling it. I don't know why I was so stupid. Anyway, though, you found romance with so Now the conflict between Remy and Colette heightens. Like Queenie resists practically. It's Colette's advice for all. Remy starts to feel like it's not a coincidence that this is the moment he starts to his brother and other rats. The concept of stealing is not too bad. It's all they do. And Remy, despite his father's contrary, is still a rat. And as he starts feeling more and more deflected, getting off without it, he starts becoming more and more in touch with rat instincts. It's a subtle hint of Remy's about to steal the most important thing of his life. No, I wish.
Cut to the chase.
So, I think the next two back-to-back, you only say something interesting about the overall. First, can I just say what your mind this is?
With sword comes shadow.
Huh? I didn't answer the question, like, at all. But anyway, Remy discovers about the Dad.
Speed of light. Fire in consideration.
Go. Suck. You got that one. Yeah, it sucks. This leads to a manic chase where Skinner tries to get those documents back from Remy and hide the evidence that was right. And I have to say, this scene feels a little
Speed of light. Nowhere to
out
hide.
of place. I don't know, there's been action
Sign here, please.
They all made sense if it was about rats like the old lady with the shotgun and the perils of the They felt somewhat more grounded. It fit the tone. Something about this chase weirds me out. Good enough scene on its own, but it feels like maybe to go a step too far with Skinner here. Now, I definitely enjoy Skinner as a character. I think he's really funny, and I like his wisdom and I like the visual of this really short guy being constantly angry at everyone. I like how the movie doesn't actually make any jokes about him being short. It's strictly a visual comedy. Like, I love you, Shrek, but please shut the fuck up. I don't need to hear a 17th joke about Lord Farquaad's height. It's not as funny as you think it is. So yeah, Skinner is a fun key player and a decent antagonist.
At least they did it.
I kinda get the impression that it's Jason.
Illusion shattered. Go ahead. Let's light it up. Drop your weapons. Hands where I can see.
Probably explains why something happened. But whatever, I suppose that Skinner's role as an antagonist. Except not really.
Here comes the fireworks.
Montage that follows.
Now you shall perish.
One meeting from this
There is no escape.
Sensible.
Teamwork is dreamwork.
I suppose
Final warning.
Jackson, magnificent, then yes,
Feel the split.
time to go open. Really helps. But yeah, everything just feels right. Player King of the Stove, bans all the shame.
You asked for it.
The nice new house, getting Colette.
Everybody stand. Shine down.
Voyage, turn over a new
Torn to oblivion.
Cool stuff. I think now is a great time to talk about the faith.
Let's light it up. Fire hazard.
Right. Way back to my ending, right? I said this movie feels like a smart
Fizzle out.
but like, how so? Well, this is gonna be a little hard to describe, so bear with me. So,
It
the thing about mainstream
would have
movies is
beaten
that
them in
they're
2 minutes.
usually always goal-based. The characters need to achieve some sort of... In a Marvel movie, it's usually beat the villain. In a Star Wars movie, it's usually beat the villains. In a Pixar movie, it's often get from point A to B. Andy's house, Paradise Falls, the land of the living, wherever the going to a dinosaur.